3rd and 4th grade. Today we're going to do the next section of our science book. It's chapter 5, part 11, and this is kinds of precipitation and clouds. We have a verse to start us off with from Job 38, verse 22. It says, "Hast thou entered into the treasures of the snow, or hast thou seen the treasures of the hail?" So let's start talking about precipitation. And often when we think of precipitation, the first thing that comes to mind is rain. But there are several different forms of precipitation other than just rain. So let's start reading about them. Rain is only one of the forms of precipitation. Other forms are sleet, snow, and hail. So let's start with sleet. When falling rain or melted snow passes through a layer of very cold air, it freezes into little hard solid balls of ice called sleet. Sleet sometimes looks white because air has been included in the frozen pellet. Often when sleet hits the ground, it bounces. However, if it is very cold, sleet freezes to the surface of everything it touches, coating everything with ice. It sleets only during the winter. So I've got a picture here of when sleet would have come down, it would have coated this branch with ice. And it's very important to note because sometimes hail and sleet can be confused. Sleet is teeny tiny little pebbles of that frozen water vapor, and it only occurs during the winter. So that's very important. Snow. You may have thought that snow was rain that had frozen, but snow is actually formed in a different way. Snow can form in clouds that are colder than 32 degrees Fahrenheit. Water droplets in these very cold clouds sometimes remain liquid, even though the temperature is below freezing. And that's because of the way that God has made water very unique with its properties. The water droplets evaporate, and the vapor freezes into tiny crystals of ice. As more vapor continues to freeze, the ice crystals join together, and this forms a snowflake. So it's not water that's necessarily like rain that's necessarily frozen, but we've got tiny crystals of ice that continue to join together to finally form a snowflake. Snowflakes may be different sizes and shapes, but they always have 6 sides or 6 points. And that's something that they always have because of the way that they are formed. Large flakes may be 1 inch in diameter and may be made up of 100 ice crystals. Much air is trapped in snowflakes as they form. This is why you must melt about 10 inches of snow in order to get 1 inch of water. So I have a ruler here. And you think about it, some large snowflakes can be up to 1 inch in diameter. So snowflakes often aren't very big. Usually they're very, very small. And then the other thing I wanted to point out is that because of this air that's trapped in snowflakes as they form, you have to melt approximately 10 inches of snow. So if I were to stand this ruler up and, stick it into a snowbank, 10 inches of snow, if you took those 10 inches of snow and melted them, that would only equal about 1 inch of water because of all the air that's trapped inside the snowflakes. Snow is part of God's wise provision for living things. The winter snowfall forms a blanket over the colder parts of the earth. It protects plants and animals by insulating them from the winter air. With the return of warmer temperatures in the spring, the blanket of snow melts to provide the water needed by germinating seeds. And so snow, some people don't like it, some people do like it. I tend to like snow, I enjoy it, but after a while we do get tired of it. But it's part of God's wise plan for protecting things in the wintertime. Now we've got hail. Hail is particles of ice which fall from the sky during some thunderstorms. Most hailstorms occur during the spring, although they can occur at other times of the year as well, but most of them are during the spring. Hail begins as raindrops that pass through a very cold layer of air and freeze. Instead of falling to the ground, the ice drops are tossed back up into the clouds by a blast of air. Another layer of water covers the ice drop as it begins to fall, and it falls again through the cold layer of air, and the new layer of water freezes. This happens over and over again until finally the hailstone is too heavy to be blown back up into the cloud, and it falls to the earth. And so that's very different from the way that sleet is formed. And sleet is only during the winter, whereas hail is often during the spring. Most hailstones are about the size of grapes. So think not too big, pretty small. But a hailstone can be as small as a pea or as large as a baseball. If you have the opportunity to see a hailstone, try collecting hailstones after the storm has passed. Cut the stones in half and count the layers of ice to see how many trips up and down the hailstone took before it landed. That would be a really fun activity if sometime during the spring or over the summer or fall we were to get a hailstone. It would be really cool if you could collect the hailstone and cut it open and see just how many layers you can count. We'll read the state bird card in a little bit, but I want to read about clouds now. So you will remember that there are three main kinds of cloud shapes: cumulus, stratus, and cirrus. And it says, which of these is flat like a sheet? Do you remember which one's kind of the flat, sheet-like? That's right, it's the stratus one is the flat like a sheet. Which one is billowy and puffed up? That's right, the cumulus is, which means what's left to be curly and very high in the sky is the, cirrus. Clouds are sometimes made up of combinations of two of these shapes. Combination clouds have the characteristics of both types of clouds from which they are formed. So let's turn the page and look at some of these different combinations. It says, what would you expect a cirrocumulus cloud to look like? Well, remember that cirrus, which is where the cirro comes from, means curly, and cumulus means piled up in heaps. So a cirrocumulus clouds are piled up cirrus clouds, like this example right up here. Cirrostratus, so coming from cirrus and coming from stratus, clouds are also very high in the atmosphere. Remember that stratus clouds are in layers or sheets. Cirrostratus clouds are very thin sheets of wispy cirrus clouds, like shown here. Sometimes you'll see the prefix alto added to the names of clouds. Alto means high or deep. So altocumulus and altostratus clouds are medium height clouds. They are higher up in the atmosphere than stratus or cumulus clouds generally are. It says, which of these clouds would be a higher layer of clouds? Well, think about this. Is cumulus or stratus usually higher up in the sky? Usually cumulus, that's right. So an altocumulus cloud is probably going to be higher than an altostratus cloud. And we can see the altocumulus cloud here and the altostratus cloud here. And I think the altocumulus clouds, these are the ones that are often really fun to try to see shapes in if you're outside looking at different cloud shapes. It says, is it possible to have heaps of clouds in a layer? Yes, that is exactly what stratocumulus clouds are. Remember, stratus is that thick layered, and then cumulus is heaps. So we've got here, number 5, we've got these stratocumulus clouds. Stratocumulus clouds are low layers of puffy cumulus clouds. And sometimes these are also ones that will see shapes in them. Then storm clouds. You will also see the word nimbus added to the names of clouds. Nimbus means rain or storm. It is a term used to describe a cloud from which rain is falling. Nimbostratus, which is number 6 here, clouds are dark gray sheets of rain clouds. They're fairly low in the sky, and they provide a steady rain or snow. And then our final picture here we've got here is our cumulonimbus clouds, our very tall cumulus clouds with dark undersides. So we've kind of got a darker section underside here and towering tops. They bring quick, heavy downpours of rain. Some cumulonimbus clouds are so large that they are 8 miles high from top to bottom. These very tall cumulonimbus clouds often have anvil-shaped tops made of ice crystals. And so next week, you're going to be doing a cloud journal, which we'll talk about when we get to next week, in which you look at different clouds and record their shapes and their sizes and possibly even like what pictures they might look like. Now let's go back and read about the lark bunting. And the lark bunting is the state bird of... That's right, Colorado. And we can see where it tends to like to spend its summer and where it likes to spend its winter. The lark bunting is a small bird which lives on dry plains and prairies. It is about 6 inches long. So if I got back out my ruler, it's about this big. Slightly larger than a house sparrow. Lark buntings are seed eaters with sharp, pointed bills. Their strong cone-shaped bills enable them to crush seeds easily. The lark bunting is a sociable bird, preferring to live in flocks. The spring plumage of the male lark bunting is very striking. He is all black with white wing patches, which you can kind of see here. Females, immature birds, and males in the winter all look alike. They are light brown, streaked with darker brown above and white below. And it's probably because it provides them excellent camouflage. The summer home of the lark bunting is on the western plains from the southern Canada through the west central United States. In winter, the lark bunting migrates southward, where it makes its home in American Southwest and in Mexico, which we looked at here on our map. Have a great rest of your week.